I mean, the players are out there giving their best, and I just don't think that's a positive for anyone.
Welcome everyone to the Eddie and Jimmy podcast. We do have one big lineup change, just like the Geelong Football Club. Late change right on the bounce. We'll get to that in a second. We've got to thank Fiji Airways and, of course, Hyundai, fantastic sponsors of our podcast. Hyundai, you can do big things with the new Alexio. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today. And Fiji Airways, visit FijiAirways.com to book your flight to Fiji and beyond. Look, I can't promote hotels like Eddie, but the next man who I'm about to introduce might be able to do it. I speak of James Hird. How are you, Hirdy?
I'm great, Jimmy. I woke up this morning thinking I have a pretty relaxed day and got this frantic call. Can you get in and be the Eddie McGuire for the day? Now, no one can be Eddie McGuire, but I'll do my best.
I think he might be busy with Karl Stefanovic, as we know. Just
jumped you quickly, hasn't he? He's jumped off your bandwagon.
He dropped me like a sack of shit, hasn't he? I'm clearly the dead weight in this operation, but welcome to the sinking ship, Hirdy.
It's great to be here. We went a couple of times last year and enjoyed it, so it's great to be here, and I'm sure Ed will be back next week, bigger and bolder than ever.
You are a sucker for punishment, but we love having you on. Love your thoughts, of course. We work across the week together. Let's get straight into it. Round 11. Kanga. North Melbourne.
Yeah.
They recorded their second biggest ever comeback. Of course, beating their comeback against Essendon, 44 points down, 1947. Is it a little kickstart that they need, or do we read too much into it? What do we think?
I think so. I think we've been crying out for them to actually take a scalp. And, Gold Coast aren't at their best, but they're still a scalp, a significant scalp, particularly at half-time when they were 37 points down and I think 43 points down at some stage in the game. I was interested in Alistair Clarkson's comments at half-time where he actually said this game's on a knife edge. Now, not many coaches say a game's on a knife edge when they're 6 goals down, but he was fully supportive. He could see what they could do if they get their game to get their ball movement together. And some of that ball movement in the last quarter, particularly through the corridor, showed that there's so much talent there. And you've been the one shining light for North Melbourne for the last 5 years, calling them out, saying, no, stick with them, they're improving, and I think you're going to be proven to be on the mark, Jimmy.
I'm still waiting for my Paul Curtis badge too. I'm number one ticket holder on the bandwagon of Paul Curtis. Hey, look, I want to ask you, the psychology of coaching. You're one of the best asked, because clearly you've coached, you've been captain for a long time as a footy club, you're very much a self-motivator, self-starter. And a lot of people who are in our position in the media, we look to things of the comments of Alistair Clarkson, the comments leading up from Damien Hardwick, and even to the fact that if there's CEO troubles and board troubles, people go, oh, that'll have an impact on the playing group. I acknowledge maybe I might be a little bit different. None of that stuff ever bothered me, or I kind of put it, well, that's a Monday to Friday issue. We're here on the weekend. Like, a CEO placement or a coach in a press conference, that doesn't impact what I do. Maybe during Monday to Friday it might, but I'll sort of skin it two ways. So the psychology of Alistair Clarkson probably at halftime, and maybe the psychology of Damien Hardwick tabling the fact that, well, Darwin's tough on us. We go really well up there, but clearly it has an impact our next few weeks, which you and I have looked at the record. It hasn't been great, but historically, Gold Coast haven't been a great side either. So can you just take us through a bit of your thoughts of coach, player, captain, trying to, that whole psychology piece that we try to look for in the media? Does it actually have an impact?
I think the hope side of things does. I think one of the things a coach should always try and do is give his players hope that they're going to succeed or win a game, or through the week and at half time or at quarter time. The great Kevin Sheedy, who was my major influence as a player, his greatest skill as a coach was to give you hope or belief that you would win at every stage in every game. I mean, we played against North Melbourne in 2001.
Oh, yeah.
Record comeback, 60 odd points down. And I remember at quarter time him saying, okay, we're a 10-goal better side than North Melbourne, but we've got 3 quarters. We don't have to pick it off all at once. This is the way we're going to do it. 3 or 4 goals here, but you've got to get back to playing a game, winning the contest, blah, 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 blah. And it gave you hope. And I think it struck me that Alistair Clarkson gave his side hope at half-time and verbalised it to the public, and then went in at half-time and actually verbalised that to his team. On the other side, you don't want to give your players excuses either. And this thing about, we've been to Darwin, we're this, we're that. Now, I think that's a tiny little seed in the back of their heads.
So you're almost talking into existence a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit by doing that. And I think, and again, my major influence, Kevin Sheedy, he would not give us an out. He would say, okay, we might have been to Darwin, but what a great experience. We got to meet a lot of people and promote the game. We're coming back to win a game at the MCG or Marvel or whatever it is. So on the plus side, yes, hope and belief is definitely, it seeds inside of there. let's get the first couple of goals. Let's get one goal, and then we'll see how we go. We're a dynamic side. On the other side, I've got tired legs. Gee, even the coach said we're a bit flat. That can affect you that 2 or 3%. And as you know, Jim, there's such a small margin between sides at the moment.
You wonder if it was a tool for North Melbourne as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, they're speaking about fatigue. You know, look, they've given us their absolute best. We've been bad, but we can improve what we can do. But hey, you know what? What if we got this, as you're talking about? What if we pick back 4 goals in this quarter? You know, would the fatigue start to set in? And what if we kick the first one of the last? You know, and you sort of can gather some momentum that way.
Yeah, and then you explain how we should do it.
Yeah.
Like if we can get one, and this is how we can do it. We can run, let's get the ball to the outside. Let's run them a bit harder. There's no doubt, I'd say, in the first third of the year when teams were playing Carlton, if they were down at half time, you'd be saying, all right, let's get the ball to the outside, let's run, because they can't play after half time. Whether it was Carlton falling over or its sides believing they could do it to them, who knows? But there's no doubt that psychology, if we're close to the Blues, we'll get them. Obviously, it's changed now. I didn't think of that. I would have thought that Alistair Clarkson would have done that at half time and gone, they've been to Darwin. They're using that excuse. Let's see if we can get that goal.
Try any trick you can. How do we measure Gold Coast? Teams are going to ebb and flow throughout the season. Now that we've got extra games than we have, 5 years ago, of course, we'd gather round, and then we've also now got wild card or whatever you want to spin it as. But they're hard to get a beat on of where they actually sit as a side.
Well, the last couple in Darwin, so that helps them with their win-loss ratio. But I haven't liked the way they've played in terms of their contest and clearance and that side of the game. They've been a score-off transition side, which means that you let the opposition get field position. And if you're playing against good teams, trying to score off half-back or through transition deep in your defence is a very hard way to score. And you saw what happened to Sydney on the weekend against Geelong. The really good teams won't let you transition from D50 to forward 50 as easily. They're able to do it against St Kilda, they're able to do it against Port Adelaide, but against good sides you don't do it, and you give the opportunity that field position. So I think with their elite midfield, they're going to do a bit more work on their contest and clearance and post clearance and ground balls and all the things that you and I talk about to get the ball into their forward half and keep it there.
Bit more of the steak before they get the sizzle, because we know when they're sizzling, they can put big scores on anyone. There's been a big call I've seen on social media to release the videos, release the files of Adam Kingsley at halftime again, because we saw with the great access with those specials that one of the greatest roasts we've ever seen, and the response from the Giants when they played the Sydney Swans up there, and it was magnificent. So if that got the result, everyone's curious, what do you say to them at halftime this time? 14 goals to 86, the biggest third quarter score in VFL AFL history. I think it's 4th biggest all time of all quarters. It was extraordinary. And actually, I think you and I have spoken about this. You almost start to laugh. Because you go, when Stringer swung around from the boundary, and I think he knew, hey, we're hot. This is like a real temperature test. If this goes through, we're something out of this world. That was the height of the tsunami.
Well, when Jake's hot, he's red hot. We were texting each other during that game, and I mean, you made the fantastic point that they only had 66 marks for the game and kicked that sort of score. It's unbelievable. Like, I think 28 goals or 26 goals or whatever off the back of 66 marks. That's unheard of.
It's low.
Yeah. But in terms of the Adam Kingsley video, he has to release it. Or someone has to come out and say, was it a spray or was it a cuddle?
He might have been just, as they were walking through the door, just picking them up and suplexing one at a time, just bang, bang, and then 2 in headlocks and the noogies and just punching them in the head, going, can you please do something? But the key point is, and clearly some knowledge about Adam Kingsley and the tsunami. We love to reference the tsunami, what we saw in the third quarter. But what gets missed is they reference the tsunami off tackling pressure.
Yes.
And if you go look at the stat sheet, sometimes stats can tell good stories and bad stories, or you make them tell whatever story you want. You have a look at the tackles of all their best players, 7, 8, 9. Like Phoenix Gothard, who's a very slight individual, played his best game. I think he had 8 tackles. Brent Daniels, lots of tackles, all the way through. That's the tsunami.
Yeah.
And I think at times you and I are always, confused why the Giants fluctuate so much through games, let alone week to week, because they just did lose to the reigning wooden spoon.
Win, loss.
And then just beat the reigning premier like that. That's the inconsistency. It's the tsunami with the defensive attitude, because it sets up really good attacking looks.
Absolutely, yeah. They're inconsistent, but that tsunami based off pressure. But I think they're also, this might sound strange, lucky they were playing the Lions too. I mean, a lot of other sides would have put one behind the ball. They would have actually tried to close the game up. They would have put something around the stoppage. They would have gone, okay, we've just had 6 goals kicked in a row against us, or 4 goals kicked. Let's close this game down. Let's own the ball. Whatever the tactic is to slow the game down. The Lions aren't like that. They're like their mids are still running forward of the ball, trying to kick goals. So it probably was a bigger margin than may happen otherwise against other teams, because teams would close the game down. But it was fun to watch. It was like, can they get another one?
Yeah,
can they get another one. That was when they kicked 8 in a row.
Yep. So, on the Lions, I don't think anyone's alarmed.
No,
they've been here. They've had different types of adversity pretty much this time of year, last couple of years. Three grand finals in a row, plus you had all the preliminary finals they've had before that. They've been a side who's been up for a long, long time. But how hard is it to shift? Because clearly Chris Fagan's, well, yeah, I know we're down and we can change things around, and he always seems to have a buzz phrase that they use in the last couple of years, if you're on thin ice, dance, or run towards the fire, I think was another one they've had. He's got to, dig into his kit bag and find a new one. But a quarter like that, he must be going, ooh, I don't want mouth guards at training sort of stuff, but how do I spark them?
Yeah, well, I think they're down a few men, obviously, and it must be hard to keep up the momentum or keep up the work over the space of what they played in the grand final, 2 premierships. So this is the 4th year they've really been up like this. So there's no doubt they'll have a lull, but you can't finish outside the top 6. I think that's, for me, although the Lions been able to do it from positions that no one else has done it before in the last 2 years, to finish outside the top 6, you play an extra final, you don't get that week off, you got to win 5 finals on the road, I think is too much.
Saturday afternoon, SP 433. I thought the way Collingwood, the AFL, everyone involved, I think they celebrated the legend and the champion that Scott Pendlebury is and still will be exceptionally well. We had a bit of fun with Eddie here last week, and I think this might be the true reason why he's not here today. He's sitting in front of his laptop. He's bidding.
I heard the Swan is up to about 89,000. I don't think he's bid yet.
No, he hasn't.
No, I reckon he's waiting. It's 3 days to go and about 7 hours to go. I reckon he is waiting, and he's probably got Joe and Xander in other rooms ready to go as well, and maybe even Carla's on another one. So yeah, he definitely wants that jumper.
I reckon he'd have his best navy suit on, and he'd be stalking his house in Toorak back. What's it up to? What number do you reckon he settles on? Well, what number do you reckon that jumper settles on?
I'd have a 3 in front of it, I think. Yeah. Have a 3 in front of it. Not 300s. I mean, it's quite phenomenal, and so it should. I mean, I agree with you. The criticism of the day by the certain naysayers. I mean, seriously, can't you just let a guy and a club and a game enjoy the game's record holder having a celebration? 90,000 people. I thought it was done superbly.
The number's there for us. What it's going to be settled on? 433,000. There'll be someone.
That's a very good, Jim.
There'll be someone. Someone will come on. If we're going to keep running with the marketing ploy.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. So Eddie will just empty out the ashtray, of course, and 433,000 will be.
What was your bid?
My bid?
Yeah.
I think I got tapped out at $110, which wouldn't even cover the frame.
It doesn't cover the jumper.
No, that's not even the jumper.
Yeah.
It might turn into like a syndicate. It can be at your house on Mondays.
You still got your last worn jumper?
No, I don't. I actually haven't kept a lot of.
No, I haven't.
No, I lie. I've got it.
Yeah.
But I don't display it.
Yeah. I've got it somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I've got it somewhere.
Where's your Brownlow?
It's in the Essendon Hall of Fame, Essendon Football Club Hall of Fame.
And your Norm Smith, same?
That I don't know. Actually, I think it's the Essendon Football Club. I hope it is.
I think you and I are pretty similar with this stuff. What would be
yours?
Brownlow TBC.
Yeah.
Same with the Norm Smith. I think a nephew's got a Norm Smith.
Right.
Do you know what is actually my favourite piece of memorabilia, and I still don't have it up, but you know it's almost like local footy photo when you win a premiership. It's the coach and the players.
Mm. Yeah.
It's just something about those photos. And I think I've always been one of those kids, and people, I still do it when, you know, you go to a sporto or you go to a local footy club. I have a thing for looking at honour boards.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
And I have no idea about this football club, but you'll go up and it'll be Knackers Smith has just peeled off 9 best and fairest in a row. And you go,
have a look at that guy there from 1972 to 1980. He who's that guy? And then you'll look up and go, geez, this club in the 90s peeled off 6 flags in a row. And I don't know, I just find them fascinating. I've always been person-wide that way. Like, even when I look at sports, I love looking at box scores of NBA. It's all boring stuff for everyone else, but it gives me a bit of enjoyment for 5-10 minutes a day.
And if you look at if there's a significant premiership run, 6 in a row or whatever, and you look across, there's always a secretary or a president or a treasurer that there's the constant. There might different players
just rorting the salary cap
20
somewhere.
years. And some one bloke's just been there for the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's been the mainstay, or she's been the mainstay of the club. And you're right, it's probably been tipping in the money to pay over the salary cap. There's no doubt in country foot. If you win more than one premiership in a row, there's a bit of salary cap stuff going on.
Hey, can you just go move my car? And while you're at it, just check what's in the glove box there. And if look at it, if it appeals to you, it appeals to you. But
is that what happened down the Cats?
Yeah, no, we had a farm from Cotton On, and I missed out on the farm craze. I know.
You don't seem to have a lot of cotton on either.
No, I missed out on Cotton On as well. I think I just missed out in general.
Gazza took it all, did
he? Gazza had plenty, and he's still got plenty. He's very, very frugal with his money. So is Joel Selwood. Hey, West Coast, I thought a lot of positives. I know a lot of people go, we're in a win-loss business, but at times there's more than win-loss. And I think for Andrew McWalter and the football department of West Coast, I think the character of a lot of their young players in particular, there's a bit of steely resolve about this group, and let's just keep them together. And of course, injuries and form and all that play a factor. But the fact that they were still boxing on in a game where I reckon at moments it felt like, well, here's the experience of Collingwood. It's going to take over. They started to win a lot of contests. Collingwood thought, hang on, this is going to go out to 5 to 6 goals pretty quickly. Even maybe because I'm a big fan of the way he plays his footy, Job Shanahan, big mark late, launched at it. It's 93,000 who were all there to celebrate Scott.
Yep.
Went back, calmly slotted it through. I thought it was a lot of good things coming of it for West Coast. You're at the G too as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I was critical of them 4 or 5 weeks ago when they lost to Richmond after that.
Yeah.
That 2006
quite rightly.
premiership celebration. I thought, gee, that didn't show a lot of character, but I think that was out of character. And where they've built, or how they've built since then, with a couple of wins or a win and then that performance against Collingwood, I think was exceptional. I'm sure Andrew McWalter, he won't admit it, but I'm sure at times over the last 18 months, he's going, what's going on?
Come on, you guys.
I'm sitting there, we're talking about record quarters. There's a few been kicked against them.
Yeah.
But then you see the quality of the way they played, not just the stars or the young stars, but across the board. So, that was a gutsy performance and a performance that I think as a football club going forward they can come back to. Like, we didn't win the game, but we went to the MCG in front of 93,000 people when all the cards are stacked against us, and we performed. Yeah. And Harley Reid gets spoken a lot about, but just that first fend off against the man of the hour or the man of the day in Scotland.
Oh, he goes, it's my 50th game.
It's bang. Just set the tone, I thought, for the day.
The Swans, they're clearly, again, no panic stations. It's probably a good time of the year I'm going to jump into corporate lingo that our coaches love to use these days. Good time to get an audit on their game. Of course, Collingwood, what they did as far as blocking up the corridor, now they handled that really well. You go back to Hawks at the G, gave them a really good audit. And there's been better sides go down to Geelong and get beaten. I think it's going to come at a good time for the Swans. All right, what do we do now once the Onewood or our A game is being locked down? How can we still generate speed and momentum on the game where we play our best footy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're right, it's not panic stations, and the good thing for Swans, won't have to go to Geelong again this year to play them, and they'll either play them in a final if they do at the MCG or at the SCG, which is a wider ground, which suits their game style more. But I think if I was looking at their game saying, all right, what can you adjust to try and get the game back on your terms? Because the way Geelong scored in that second quarter was really a lot because of they had in the forward half, and Sydney were trying to come through the middle a bit too fast or trying to forward handball a bit too much, which Geelong caught and sent back. And Geelong can score quickly against them too. So maybe it's at some stage, okay, we've copped 2 or 3 against us. Instead of keeping on going the same way, let's try on some long down the line stuff. Let's close the game up a bit until we can get the game back on our turns, because at any stage during a game, you lose the momentum or you lose it on your terms. You've got to just grind it out a little bit, and you can't play the way you want to. So slow it down a bit, make it a bit more of a contest, and then when it opens up, when you feel more comfortable, try going through the middle again.
Yeah, a bit more fast possession, which is the term that we used at Geelong. And you can have, there was slow possession and there's fast possession. Slow possession, you're probably using more 2 minutes to go in the quarter, zero risk, and that can be backwards and sidewards and things like that, just possessing the football. Fast possession is, we're still going to take territory, and it takes a lot of work rate from people off the ball. And this is where I reckon inexperienced sides and sides down near the bottom of the ladder, when they go into this kick mark style, I think a lot of players go, hey, this is a chance for me to get a breather, which quite rightly, they're all looking for a breather because it's a tough game. But it actually takes more work rate. And so what this will allow them to do is hit the 45, hit the lateral, and actually start spreading the opposition.
Yep.
And then with the fast possession, you can almost have, once we hit centre line,
then you go.
Yeah. So it actually, as you're saying, it takes time off the clock. It means we're not getting scored against, because sides, it's all about momentum.
Yeah.
And what you're touching on before is, when we don't have it, let's not get scored against. And that's where you'll find the eventual premiers and the sides who are consistently top four. They don't get scored against when the opposition's having a great 10 minutes, or they only give up a goal or two. The sides who are a bit poorer is, that's 5-6 goals.
Yeah.
And then, we've got a completely different ball game. So probably an element they can add, which they've clearly got the capability.
Yeah.
They're a great kicking side. Just a bit more fast possession when they're playing good sides. That only has to be like 5 minutes, or get us to the halfway point, and then we go quick again.
And I think you're right for the Swans. It's an audit. They had an audit on them last week against Collingwood, when Collingwood clogged up the middle. This week, Geelong did it better and able to turn that winning the ball back into goals themselves. And you played down there as much as anyone. If you go 3 or 4 goals down against Geelong at the Cattery, it's very hard to come back, because they just know how to close the game down.
Correct. All right.
That's it? We're done?
Yeah. Oh, we're done about talking about everything else.
Right.
I gave you some half volleys just to loosen you up. Right.
Yeah. What are you going to talk about? NBA finals coming up?
Yeah, NBA finals. New York Knicks are through to the Eastern Conference finals, but clearly we don't have you here just to talk about that, even though you are a big NBA buff, as we know. Essendon Football Club. Look, they lost the Tigers, who could barely field a team, and by the end of it, Essendon could barely field a team. It was absolute carnage, dream time at the G. Fans throwing scarves into the race. Many a journo is saying Brad Scott won't survive the season. Scott and the Bombers have been clear on the development phase and the plan. What are your thoughts? Because I don't want this to turn into, you make comments and then everyone goes, Hirdy back to coach.
Yeah.
All right,
I mean, what I'm not into is talking about coaches getting sacked. It's just.
No, I'm not a cheerleader for
having been there before and understanding how hard the job is. I think that people don't realise that you go through ebbs and flows in your coaching career, and this is Brad's 4th year, and he's had some success. The last 18 months have been tough, and based off a lot of injuries at the club, and you can see that there are blooding a lot of young kids who are performing well.
Yeah, they've shown signs that they could have very good careers.
And I think one of the difficult things for Brad and the coaching staff at the moment is having consistency of players they're putting out there, because even the senior players, they'll get injured, particularly on the weekend. So how do you know which players you're going to have week in, week out? But in saying that, the thing that I think is frustrating people is, okay, what does the team look like, and is it because of the injuries we haven't been able to see the style of game that they want to play, particularly from a defensive point of view, with whether we're pressing, whether we're folding back, or how we're doing that. That seems to be the frustration that I hear from Essendon supporters. They can't see that. But what I didn't like seeing was scars being thrown down race at players like that. I saw that this morning when I was on Twitter or whatever, on X or whatever it was, and I just went, well, that's not that's not great. I mean, the players are out there giving their best, and I just don't think that's a positive for anyone.
Every club does reviews, but when they make public, they seem to, and especially clubs who are down in the bottom of the ladder, they become a big story. Brad's spoken about the plan, and he's highlighted the president and the CEO across the plan. Well, then it's going to be tough for Brad Scott, and he's more than up to it. He doesn't need protecting from us. He's a very bright person, very strong-willed person, and very strong on his philosophies on the game. It's a realistic, hard look. Go, well, is my plan is my plan right for this group? And it can be a great plan, but it might be the wrong group. And so then, if you're adamant on your plan and you're adamant as far as game style and philosophy, and if this group, have I got the right people to help me execute? Because it can't just be the coach.
No.
Now, my thoughts on a coach, and you can tell me if I'm off, is like he's got a helicopter down and in and out. So we highlighted this regarding development. That's been a big question mark of Essendon.
Yeah.
We'll get down in the reeds and go, well, why development? Because that's costing me.
Yeah.
Because I need these guys to be, instead of 70, 80 games, I need them ready to rock and roll in 40 games.
Yep.
Because that helps me and it helps my long-term tenure and it helps the Essendon Football Club, helps me get wins. If it's defence, who's my defence coach? All right, you and I, let's lock ourselves in this room. Let's roll the sleeves up. Let's test every thought and theory. Like, let's leave personalities aside. We've got to hammer it. And when we leave this room, this is how we're going to execute it. Yeah. If it's attack, do I have the best support regarding physios, medical, strength and conditioning? Do I have the best support from my football manager? And that's going to be tough because a lot of people you bring into your football club, you've got long-standing relationships with, but it's his neck that's on the line.
Yeah.
Because and that's the unfortunate thing about being a senior coach. The buck stops with you, and you wear the wins and losses from the fan base more than anybody else.
I think you're right. It's more than just the senior coach, but the senior coach is the one that ultimately survives or doesn't. But if I look at what the best in the land are doing, and if you look at the last 25 years, the best club has been the Geelong Football Club. They haven't won the most premierships, or maybe they have. You can tell me how many Geelong's won.
They're equal. Yeah.
They're equal. Whereas Hawks have won them, or Brisbane, or whoever in the last 25 years. But Geelong, what they haven't had to do is go down. Like Hawthorn went down, Brisbane went down to come back up. Geelong have consistently been either a premiership team or up in the top four. What's the worst position that Geelong have had?
I think there was a 12th.
12th. Okay, so that's down for, but not really, just short stay. But what they've got is they've got the best in class in every area. Like you look at Geelong, Wellesley was what?
Your recruiter.
The recruiter. He was seen as the best. The development. Lappin, the best. Coaching, outstanding for every Bomber. And so they were able to build that from, I think, 2000 Bomber came in, or 2001 Bomber came in, and then Chris Scott. And the club seamlessly went through it. Now, that's not just because of the senior coach. That's because if you got your CEO right, your footy manager right, and all these other roles right. So that, to me, is the question on Essendon. Have they got all those roles? Have they got those people right? So the senior coach can get the best opportunity to do what they do. And that's about, to me, it's about relationships, having relationships with your players where they understand what you're trying to teach them and coach within them. And then, how you develop them, make them better players. And have you got the strategy that can go forward? But I don't see... I think you got to look at Geelong and go, okay, that's the model.
Apology, Brisbane fans. You are the leader for this century with 5 premierships, clearly the three-peat, and then the last 2 as well. Hawks on 4, Cats on 4. What's that? Richmond on 3, Swans 2. I think I've pretty much covered all the bases.
Yeah. And premierships are probably the measure, but it's also consistently...
Pies on 2, sorry.
Consistently, they just haven't, bottomed out, have they?
I just heard something come through the walls there about Collingwood. Hey, I want to raise the next topic. HIA testing. It's not a big deal, but we do treat this incredibly seriously. And of course, we've got litigation up to our eyeballs. I think we do bash the AFL a fair bit, but they are trying to do a lot of things around the rules. Tribunal is probably over-indexed a little bit and trying to punish the current day playing cohort regarding suspensions and things like that. It's a thought bubble, and I want you to smash my thought bubble because this is what we're here for. The headline of my PowerPoint presentation to you, Hirdy, is can we start treating HIA in-game more like the blood rule? So my thinking is here that we can get rid of umpires stopping the game for guys with gout and cramp and hangnail and things like that.
How many players have gout?
I don't know, but it's gone way too far. We're stopping the game. But blow the whistle if you think there is something that the ARC has highlighted, because once I flesh it out a bit, you can punch holes in it. I think back to the Jeremy Cameron one down at GMHBA Stadium. I think of Nick Watson. It could be, was it Cleary on the weekend, the Dogs, and things like that. That the AFL, or the umpires, are wide up. And clearly they've had different instances where you need to remove that player from the ground. The Essendon player up at Gold Coast where Edwards. But if you treat it like a blood rule, hey, umpire heard, blow the whistle and allow them just to go off to the nearest point. You can bring someone onto the...
just jump off at that side of the ground.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through interchange.
So then the doctor can just go, right,
Yeah.
I'm not chasing you around the ground. We're not darting around. Players are naturally going, hey, I'm fine, because he's watching the play and things like that. He can just step off, and then it doesn't cost you an interchange. And then he's
I do like that. What I thought you were going to say is they have to run off through the interchange and wait. Now that just delays the game again another 30 seconds, another minute, because you know what happens with the blood rule too.
Yeah.
As soon as you get the blood rule, you start walking slowly getting off to make sure your bloke can get
make sure you get the photo. It'll look good at the end of the year. Blood coming down my face.
Yeah, no, but if he can walk off just there and he can come on straight away, I think that solves that problem, because the one thing we don't want to do is extend the game any longer. No, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, because we're trying to treat. Well, we are treating head knock seriously.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good people doing good things in the game, and that's across the board. Clubs, AFL, and like I said, we do smash AFL and people a bit. But just using the Nick Watson one for example, he was close to the boundary there. The doc can just step over here, and it might only be a minute. Hey, you actually don't need a scat test because you got hit in the shoulder. They've got the vision down on the bench. Just walk with me back to the bench.
Yeah.
And in that time, people who are looking on the screen, hey, go through all the protocol that they need. You're fine. Sit down, get a drink. On you come.
So currently, the doctor goes out.
The doctor goes out.
Not at the request of the ARC. He just goes out because he saw something and he thinks something.
Yep.
Is that putting a lot of weight in the people in the ARC rather than the doctor? Because the one thing I would say, the most experienced doctors in the game are still the AFL doctors, club doctors.
Yeah, I agree.
Sitting on the boundary. So
I'm just trying to make their job easier. So
but do you get an inexperienced or an ARC doctor who maybe doesn't have experience that these guys are a bit trigger happy?
Maybe, but if you've got the communication, or maybe even if there's a cast of 1,000 that sit in the middle between the two coaches' bench, why can't the doc communicate, hey, I need to get out there, chat to the Wiz or to Hirdy? Surely then that can be relayed in real time. I'm just trying to make it easier for the doc and then take all the angst out of it. And then this is no way having I thought Hawthorn handled it beautifully. They did everything. They ticked every box. Well done. I'm just thinking, when you put all these together, is there ways to take the tension out of it? And then, obviously check on him. And it could be as simple as, hey, as we're saying with Watson, it's fine. He might have gone, look, I copped it in the shoulder. I was a bit stunned because my head bounced off the ground, but everything's fine, everything's right. He just walks back around.
I think what you will get is you'll get more unnecessary people coming off. But is that a realistic price to pay for better protection of the head? That's what I mean. If you get 20%, just going up, you get 20% more people coming off, and is that better than 20%, 30% less?
Yeah,
and it's a serious injury. So. Yeah, I think it's probably a price worth paying, but you will get people coming off for no reason.
Yeah, before our social media team cuts us into 100 bits here, I'm not anchored this. It's just it was just a thought. Like, so the doctors get that minute or two they need to assess. Players are looked after. Doesn't punish the team or hurt the team because just go to the nearest point.
Yeah. And no, I don't mind the idea. I think whatever can be done to prevent head injuries should be done, as long as it's not, a ridiculous number that changes the game considerably.
Yeah, and we don't need to be stopping the game for guys with cramp either, things like that.
No, it is a game where you should have to endure, and as long as it's not serious injury, that's part of the game.
Well, you're going to have to endure the Bartel Medal here, because I go rogue and I go wild. The Bartel Medal, where myself gives 3-2-1 votes, and it's completely up to me, and I don't care what you think. What's happened to our man Jamal, Richard? Jamal normally puts in some votes.
No votes.
Well, now doesn't that tell us who Jamal really is?
I think it's Eddie McGuire.
I think Eddie Jamal McGuire.
Ooh.
I did not know his middle name was Jamal. I didn't see him as a Jamal.
I thought he had Irish heritage.
Yes.
Anyway.
Not a strong Irish name, Jamal. My votes. Look, I've gone wide there with the ones, but plenty of Giants, plenty of Hawks. Harley Reid's in there. Bailey Williams, the ruck for West Coast. I think his last couple of weeks has been very good. I really like Norton's game. It wasn't big bags of goals, but his competitive work. Sheasel and Simpkin from the Kangaroos. We've got Amos Watson. My two votes. We keep highlighting development. Lawson Humphreys is case in point for the development program. Geelong. Toby Green, stringer.
That intercept mark he took in the middle of the ground and
goal.
Keep the goals. Very good.
I think Taranto's form,
He's kicked 5, you're only giving him 2.
5 goals, 4 he kicked.
9 shots a goal, Jim.
Yeah, it's a lot. If he kicked 10 straight, he would have got my special 4 voters, or 9 straight. Jarman Impey's a great player for the Hawks. Josh Tracy, speaking of loving the way...
Only 2. I mean, 1 on the game.
Yeah, I thought it was just a pretty even game across the board there. My 3 votes. Phoenix Gothard, 29 touches. He was involved in everything, 9 tackles. Bailey Smith. Rechko was my best on ground for the Dreamtime at the G, which he actually got 2 best on grounds from the judges. I looked at the judges' votes, and then other judges didn't have him in, so he just missed out. Murphy Reid, what a player he is. LDU, Jezza, Nick Dacos, Red Richards, and the Bont. So
you're giving 2 3s to Richards and Bont, okay?
Yeah, Richards had 30 plus and 3 at about 98%, and the Bont is a freak.
Yep, he is.
The leaderboard, 11 to Max Gawn, 13 to Cozzy Pickett. The golden child has been passed. He is on 20 votes, Nick Dacos, and Marcus Bontempelli, or as the ABC reporter called him, Bontempelis. He is on 21 votes. Thanks for your time, Hirdy.
No worries, Jim. It's been great to be here.
And I'll talk to you Wednesday and we'll answer all your questions. Make sure you email us, Eddie and Jimmy at tappedmedia.com.au, and follow us on Instagram. Just search Eddie and Jimmy.